Oh, absolutely. So if I'm going to put together a sandwich, it's usually going to have cheese on it, unless it's a PB&J, no cheese. I'm not usually a guy who puts either ketchup on most anything, like not even French fries. I'd rather eat French fries plain than with ketchup. Now, you're saying you're a mayonnaise over Miracle Whip guy, right?
Yes,
Why?
absolutely. Um, I like it better, especially if it's like the premium brand at least. There's some other brands out there that don't cut it, but premium brand does.
Hmm.
And I don't like the artificial like Miracle Whip has high fructose corn syrup in it.
Oh, okay. So you're anti corn syrup.
Well, not so much that it just like anything with high fructose corn syrup leaves a bad aftertaste if you're more than 8 years old.
Hmm. So you're saying everything that Americans eat leaves an aftertaste.
That's why you have to keep eating it so you don't have to deal with the aftertaste. That's how they hook you.
That's why Americans are so fat. It's so we don't have a bad aftertaste in our mouth.
Right? Like it makes perfect sense. Where's my tinfoil hat?
So, well, I'm glad we got that straightened out. Now, are you a Coke or a Pepsi guy?
Neither.
Oh, if you were to
Yeah,
drink a soda, what would it be?
probably root beer.
Did you grow up drinking root beer, or like is this a childhood memory you're drinking every time that
Well, I
you're
actually used
having
to drink
soda?
Pepsi, but I actually decided I don't like cola.
Oh, okay.
So either style, if I had to pick, it would be a Pepsi. Coke is a little too sweet for me.
Oh, interesting. All right, good to know. So, everyone, if you want to get Brett's attention, make him a sandwich with. So what is it? Mayonnaise without high fructose corn syrup in it, and
Well, no,
a
just
root
not
beer.
Miracle Whip
Just not Miracle Whip. Oh, okay.
and a root beer. Yes, except for I really do try and lay off the sugars. I mean, it's been really nice to have released 35 pounds in the
Oh, wow.
last I don't know, since the end of last year.
So you're saying you're less of a man than you used to be?
Absolutely, and it's wonderful.
Good to
There's
know.
not as much of me to go around.
Now, what difference is there between these preferences and business?
Oh, you just hooked me with something random, and now you're like pulling it back in. That was a really good segue. Um, well, we all have individual preferences, and that's actually what makes the world go round.
So I have a good. I had a great example of this. I knew a guy who grew up California, and he grew up, and he freely tells this story of growing up as he says it, he was a Mexican in America, and his mom was one of the first people that had a credit card, and the stores wouldn't trust her because she was of color. And so the manager would get called down every time to check the credit card because it was such a new thing, and they're like, oh, we don't trust you, lady. And so he goes on to explain that that really kind of irked him. And he's since consulted with big companies, small companies, but all of that just lays the foundation of who he is. And he says, if there's a premium option, I will buy it, period. That's his preference. You stick a premium option in front of him, and he's like, cheap, a little more expensive. Oh, premium. Done. Doesn't even matter what the features are. He was talking about buying furniture the other day, and he's like, wait a minute. You expect me to build that chair? Oh, no. I'm going to pay you to drive to my house, put the chair exactly where I want it, haul my old chair away, dust the chair off, and say, please sit down, sir. Do you like it? That's what I'm paying for. And he will do that all day, every day, because that's his preference. Now, some people would be like, oh, I'm cheating my customers by charging them so much money. Are you? Are you really cheating them, or are you giving them what they want?
I mean, how many examples do we have? Like the entire luxury brand or car brands that you're not allowed to sell the car aftermarket. I'm not going to name names. Um, where like so that they can keep that premium value, that premium feel, where it always has to go through a dealership where they can customize and tailor the experience just the way they want for the person that they're targeting. And I
Hmm.
think that's an important thing for us to understand is our customers don't need to have the same preferences that we do. In fact, oftentimes they don't. And if we judge our customers by our own preferences, we're often going to be giving them the wrong thing. We need to be listening for what they want, what their preferences are, what they would prefer, rather than projecting our own thoughts, beliefs, and preferences on them. And that's how we
Absolutely.
create value.
Absolutely. I was talking to someone the other day starting a business up, and they were telling me how it's been so difficult because they've gotten so much good advice, they don't know which advice to listen to. And I was telling them a few things on like here's some thoughts around marketing and some communication with your customer. And we start and she's like, "Well, what about my website?" I'm like, "Well, do you want the truth or do you want me to make you feel good?" kind of a thing. I'm like, here's the truth. Your customer is going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going to be sitting at the kitchen table, and the spouse is going to walk in and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you awake?" And Dan Kennedy told this story, and that's where I got it from. Is he says, if you know what's going to come out of your customer's mouth at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're talking to their spouse about all their problems, and you can effectively say those things to your customer and help them understand that that's their situation and that you have the solution to that situation, you will own the market. And she's like, "Oh my goodness." And so we started diving into some of the problems that her customer has, and what she's like, all of that was on my first version of my website, but all the experts have drugged me over here and drugged me over here, and I've spent 100 hours rebuilding the website over and over. I'm like, that's amazing. If you'd listen to your customer instead of the experts, how much further would this person be in business?
Well, and that's the issue with so much advice is every piece of advice isn't necessarily wrong, but every piece of advice is based in some subset of assumptions. And the advice only works if the assumptions that it's based on are actually valid. It's like, you want to have a good time, take a running jump. Well, what's the assumption that is being given if you give somebody that piece of advice? Take a running jump. You know, maybe they're in a pool. Maybe
Right?
they're cliff jumping off a safe cliff. But maybe that advice is not so good if they're on the top of a tall building and they're not wearing a parachute,
100%.
intending the base jump. Like you have to know what the underlying assumptions are. Otherwise, it could be the advice you get could be absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, exactly right. And I want to go back to that idea of your preferences are different than my preferences. And so if I walk into a restaurant and they're trying to cater to you specifically, they're going to want to have different food on that menu than if I'm walking into that restaurant. But if they just are trying to advertise to everybody, they'd say, "We have food." You're like, well,
Yeah.
of course you're a restaurant. You should have food. But restaurants are some of the best examples of zeroing in and saying, we're going to cut out everything but this one type of food. And this is the kind of food we have. So when you're craving this kind of food, come here. You shouldn't just say we have food.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good example because you can look at restaurants that are barely hanging in there. And if you look at their menu, it's like this thick. It's like an encyclopedia of like, here's every dish that anyone has ever created in the history of the world. Like, and I think pretty much every single restaurant that is leaning that direction is suffering. Whereas how many restaurants how many franchise and things are growing tremendously that do nothing more than sell a chicken sandwich?
Yep. Exactly. I have a good friend that in his late 80s, and he was talking about his time where he used to hang out with Colonel Sanders back in the day. And we're talking like back when they were going public for the first time, like he was there and he provided a lot of help for those franchisees and cleaning supplies and such. But that was one of the things is Colonel Sanders said, you're going to have one item that's going to be the showstopper, and it's this fried chicken. And we do fried chicken better and different than everyone else. And my buddy's like, you want to know the real secret to good fried chicken? I'm like, sure, man, tell me. He's like, when Colonel Sanders was in charge, they would only fry it in peanut oil. So there you go.
That's
Supposedly that's the real secret.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just stick with the different preferences and being able to customize that for your customers. Like if you can be the voice giving your customer the thing that they prefer in a market where they don't hear that message from anyone else. To use the simple example of there's a dozen restaurants in your city that say we serve food, and there's one that says we do tacos, and you're craving tacos. Like you're very likely willing to pay a premium to go to the taco place.
Right? Absolutely.
And then we talked to a lot of small business owners, and they're like, I just want to provide, and their preference is to get whatever they want as cheaply as possible. So this is one of those dangerous preferences, and you assume that your customers want that as well. You're missing an entire segment of the market that cares about exclusivity, which sometimes is created by having higher prices. And even if you're not aiming for that segment of the market, being able to charge enough that you can comfortably live, fulfill the vision that you have for your life, and have money to reinvest and make what you do better, so you can better target who you can best serve, allows you to then continue ratcheting up that price. But at the same time, if they're still buying, your customer perceives the value as something they want. Like that's the other thing I think that I can get on a soapbox about. Where we live in a country where, for the most part, we're not forced to buy things outside of like insurance and a few things. Like it's voluntary exchange. It's like I get to choose from the best options that I am aware of and pick the one that I believe has the highest value. And your customers are always buying based on value. You might think it's a price decision, but that's only because the customers value lowest price above whatever else you might be offering and whatever else is in the market.
Yeah. Have you ever gone shopping in a store and seen how many choices there are for deodorant?
One of the things that I'm pretty sure that whoever the leader of the Soviet Union was in the late 80s, that's one of the things he pointed out. Was like, why are there 7 different brands of deodorant in here? Like, we only have one in the Soviet Union.
Like at this point, you've got an entire aisle dedicated to deodorant. Yes. And yet, some people don't want the cheapest. They want this specific one because of their specific preferences. And not knowing your customer well enough makes it difficult. Now, on the flip side of that, if someone's just getting started, oftentimes they don't know their customer that well. And so it is much more like fuzzy and foggy and difficult to understand that. But each step you take each day should be giving you greater and greater clarity so that you can customer and understand their ideal, their goals, their hopes, and be able to serve them a little bit more specifically and a little bit better as well. I went to a taco shop the other day. Actually, it was about a year ago with my wife, but I did not want tacos. My wife was craving them. She wanted them so bad. I was like, whatever, we're going to go to this taco place. And I was like, I just don't want a taco. So I ordered a hamburger. And you could see into the kitchen, and they're trying to figure out how to make a hamburger. They're like, hey, do we have any hamburger buns? Have you seen any hamburger buns? I don't know if we have any hamburger buns. I'm literally hearing them have this conversation as they're trying to find a hamburger bun to give me. It was the worst hamburger I've eaten in years. Awful.
Should have had a taco.
I should have had a taco. It would have tasted great, but I didn't want a taco. But I'll tell you what, don't ever go to a taco shop and order a hamburger. If that's not their specialty as a small business, you don't want what they're doing on the side because it ain't good.
Man, I'm surprised you only got that lesson a year ago.
that was the first time I'd gone to a taco shop to eat a hamburger. I was smarter than that the rest of my life.
Right? Wow. But yeah, like I love this thing about the clarifying what the preferences are, and especially for small business owners, one of the things we get into is we think we have to target a broad range of preferences. And yes, you said earlier, like, we don't know exactly what the preferences are because we just don't have that much data to work with. We haven't served that many customers.
Yep.
Well, if you're not even trying to target a particular type of customer, how are you going to learn to speak their language? The language that actually resonates with them. In a sea of people that have unique preferences, how are you going to learn to target an individual one if you're still trying to stay broad? It's like,
and to go along with that, oftentimes people feel like, oh, there's too much competition. And so I can't go into that market. And they're like, man, you look at this town, there's got to be at least 20 taco shops. I can't open a taco shop. And you're like, huh, I don't see anybody that's running a seaweed shop. Maybe I should start selling seaweed because there's nobody that's going to compete with me. And you're like, there might be a blue ocean opportunity here, as they call it, for a reason. Maybe nobody wants seaweed. So it might be easier to open another taco shop because you know there's already demand for it. And if you can figure out a way to differentiate your taco shop from everyone else, maybe people will come in droves if you know there's demand for those preferences that you're going to be providing.
Well, it's like, I mean, I just want to call back to the so-called experts. Like, there are a bunch of people that preach, you got to find that blue ocean. If there's 20 taco shops in your town, you don't want to be number 21. But there's a different expert that's going to say the exact opposite and be like, there's already 20 taco shops. That's validation. People here love tacos. Like, there's absolutely room for taco shop number 21. Especially if you figure out if you actually listen to your customers, figure out what their unique preferences are, you're going to get a subset of those taco lovers. They're going to come to you and quit going anywhere else.
And what's amazing to me is the differentiation. Like, you can have two taco shops sitting by each other. And in Boise, there's two fast food restaurants sitting by each other. And you can get similar kinds of food at both of them. And I love to go to A and not B. So we'll go to A and eat some fast food there sometimes. And we'll count the number of cars going through drive-through and the number of cars and people coming through the restaurant while we're there. Like, holy cow, they've served like 60 people in the time that I ate. And then we're watching restaurant B at the same time, and there's a total of maybe 5 cars there. And I'm like, there's got to be at least 2 employees in there. And so I'd assume that 2 of those 5 cars are employees. How is restaurant B staying in business? They're serving the same food, but there's a differentiation in all the ways the food's being served. And so people prefer restaurant A to a degree that you're getting 10 times, 20 times the customer base because of that differentiation and knowing truly who they're serving and how.
Well, and I mean, to stick with that, you can apply it to any product, but food is, yes, they could both be serving the exact same food, but the way it's presented, the atmosphere of the place, the caliber of the people, of the servers, the cleanliness, the colors, all of those things feed into individual preferences, which is why millions and millions of dollars are spent on market research to figure out what preferences are for these big restaurants, because when they can update and get closer to the actual preference of their target market, they provide even more value. And, just even a color change, something as simple as that can increase their bottom line significantly.
So how do you expect a small business owner who maybe doesn't have a ton of data, but they're trying to narrow in and trying to figure out, how am I serving my customer? And a customer comes in and they're like, Bob, your service stinks, but it would be really good if you just did X. And then the next customer comes in and they're like, hey, how can I do better? And they're like, Bob, you'd do great if you just did Y. And X and Y are totally different. Who do they listen to? How do they know which one?
That's a really challenging question. And one answer would be, you just need to talk to more customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is like, well, which one is easier to deliver? Or which one has, again, talk to more customers, which one has more people that prefer that preference? Again, it's an iterative process. Like, it's not something that you're going to figure out, especially if you're early. or you've only been operating for a year, you're not gonna have the depth of interactions to be able to know. But the only way you're going to have any interactions is if you actually take the time to ask.
I love that fact that you identified that you need more data. And the data is not more necessarily just more customers, but also how difficult is it to deliver this? And I want to know how big is my market, and then also how difficult equals how much cost, and then how much demand and how much additional value do people perceive around that. So there's a lot more variables that someone could collect that can help in making those decisions. So you can get someone who's like, man, I wish every time that my lawn care company would come by, they would come and they'd wash off the house. And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should do that because somebody told me. You're like, wait a minute. Instead of that, let's figure out if that's a common desire or if this one customer is an oddball, and making sure that you do a little bit of market research before you jump at every new opportunity is huge. Otherwise, you end up like that restaurant that has a menu this thick and everybody's confused by who they are and what they offer.
Or the taco shop that has a hamburger on the menu, but no supplies.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is crazy the things that small business owners will do, and all the distraction. And it's like when you're starting, it's like you need to have clarity on what your offer is and who you're targeting it to. You need to have a way to get leads. You need to have control of that pipeline. That's the next thing. And because if you don't know what you're offering and who you're targeting, you don't know how to build. You can't build the right pipeline. And once you get the right pipeline built, then you have to have a sales script. So you're talking to people the same way every time. Because if you talk to people differently every time, sometimes you'd be like, hey, they bought, and the next time they didn't buy, and you don't know why. Well, guess what the next one is? You deliver. And the one after that is you get feedback from your customers and the people that didn't become customers. Can you tell me why you didn't buy? And did you get what you expected? And there are better ways to frame those questions, but fundamentally, that's what you ask.
Right.
And not everybody's going to answer you. Some people are going to become offended that you asked why they didn't buy a week after they came into your world and you had the opportunity to sell to them. But not everyone will. And getting data from both, well, why didn't you buy? Who did you buy from? Or have you not made a decision yet? And then did you get what you expected? How could we do a better job? You just start collecting that data, and you don't stress about trying to do something with every single individual data point. Work it for a period of time and figure out how things go. Talk to your people. If you have people aiding you in delivery, like, which customers did you like to serve? What, and that's really one of the things for small business owners. If you're so busy in the grind, you hear the 60, 80-hour weeks, and it's just one fire after another. If you can never take the time to step back and ask the questions and evaluate the responses, you're never going to be able to steer your business in the direction it needs to go. Like there's a business that I've been working with, and these two guys, they put their heads together and they got investors involved, and they had this big grandiose vision of how their company was going to be built. And they're looking at, like, when this company's doing $100 million a year, this is how our sales funnel is going to work. This is how this is going to work. This is how all these things are going to work. And they're like, great. We have that all figured out. We have this beautiful vision in our head. And then they go and they start trying to build it as a startup. And the things they want to try don't work. And yet they continue to persist in trying to hold to this vision for a company doing $100 million, and how they're structured and how they do things and how they give commissions to people and how they bring in outside sales reps and all these different things. It's like they have one of the most convoluted business structures, because there's this business that gets the product and this business that does the training and this business, and they own different shares of each other, and it is such a
Whoa.
nightmare. Like I and they've been doing this for like a year and a half. And it's like, and we're slowly working our way through untangling this mess, helping them realize like this piece that you think that you have to have right now, it's an obstacle. Like it's a locked door that you're not going to get through right now. You need to let that go and focus on this thing that you already know works. Yeah, but we want it to work like, but this way works right now. And so let's do what works right now. And then maybe based on customer feedback, based on what we figure out, then maybe we can move towards that. It's not bad to have that vision, but to hold that vision to, and try and stick to it in face of the raw reality, you're not doing yourself any favors.
And I want to reframe that in another way, because that's such a powerful lesson. People need to be disconnected from their business. I've heard too many small business owners saying, I am the business. And when you are the business, everything's an ego issue. Everything comes back on you. The decisions all relate to who you are as a human. Jason McKenzie's a business? Never. Jason McKenzie's an individual that owns a business every time. I have to be separate from the business. The business and me are not one. That means the decisions we make for the business don't necessarily reflect directly on Jason, because I'm meeting customers' preferences, customers' desires. I'm not trying to satisfy my ego, my emotional needs with the business. And I hear you saying that these people set this up and there's a bit of ego getting in there. Oh no, we have to do it this way because we want $100 million. No, you don't. That's just coming in here and patting yourself on the back over and over. But that's not what the business needs. That's what you emotionally might need. So we have to make that a very clear, distinct line for business owners, that the business is what you do to make money, to fund your vision, your dreams, your hopes, your goals in life. It's not how you get your how you get your, what is it, your
sense of worth.
Yes, your sense of worth. That's what I'm looking for. It's not how you get your sense of worth. It's how you get your sense of money and how you get that bank account filled up.
And and there's so many, I mean, this is another thing that so many small business owners and even big business owners, like up to, I mean, like they're still technically small, but we think of them as larger when they get to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million.
Or 100 million even.
Or 100 million.
These kinds of things show up at businesses that are $100 million companies.
I haven't worked with very many actual $100 million companies yet, so I can't speak to that directly. But yeah, it's a lot of companies that are in the, still small, like the bigger small businesses. They're stuck because of the founder's ego, and because they can't, like, you can't admit when things go wrong because that reflects poorly on him. And so if they can never admit to the issues that they have, they can't ever take the time to fix them, which is a huge thing that affects them. And so, as you say, if you can separate, I'm here and I own a business, and one of my goals is to have this business be the best that it can be. And I don't have to know everything before I'm willing to do an experiment and see what happens. To where he's like, oh, that didn't work. Let's try it differently now. Like, you can make changes, and it doesn't, take your emotional feet out from under you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the perfect place to end it.
Thanks, Jason.